Welcome back to the Retro Ghetto. So I only normally do one of these game room tour videos once a year, but we've recently made some big changes in here to make the games room looking better than ever. So I wanted to document it. And not only that, I've never done a real deep dive. So we normally get through these tours in like 20-30 minutes, just sort of having a quick overview. Today, I want to really deep dive into all of these items that I covet so much that I've dedicated this whole room to. If you're new to the channel and you didn't already know, this was once upon a time a dilapidated old garage. We completely renovated it, extended it, and I'll put a link below to that whole series. But as well as that, over the last 2 or 3 years, every Sunday morning I've been putting out a vlog of me going out hunting, finding retro games, toys, collectibles, getting back into the 3.0 and putting them lovingly into place in this room. So with all that being said, let's get into it because there's a lot to look at. Okay, so I think we're going to start this deep dive here. Makes sense because this is like the newest section of the room I've dubbed the 3.0. The reason it's called the 3.0 is that this is my third room, even though it's seen many guises over its time. So yeah, this has been recently extended. This was a half Billy bookcase. So a lot of the stuff I use is Billy bookcases from IKEA. And I went from a half size to a full size, largely to accommodate my Xbox 360 collection, which has grown a lot. I'm a big fan of the Xbox 360, and thankfully I bought a lot of these games before the huge price hikes which happened with the closure of the online store. This is a personal favourite of mine. This one shot up in value, this Saints Row 2 Collector's Edition. Now, I mistakenly thought when I bought this that this came with a gun. It doesn't. Just so everyone knows, this is just a piece of cardboard embossed. It's not actually a gun, it's just cardboard. The only thing you get is this bullet, which is like a USB, like a USB drive I think it is, but it's still cool, looks great, it's a great display piece, and I like to display collector's editions throughout. So yeah, you'll be seeing a lot of good games in here, one of the best libraries in my opinion. This is very cool, the Fallout collector's edition. It's actually got Power Armor statue in there. It just takes up a bit too much room displaying it that way around. And this is an interesting one. So these are Xbox 360 Classics family games and bestsellers. Most of them say bestsellers. I'm a big fan of green. And yeah, I think these make a great display. This is one of many sort of budget label collections or subsets that you'll see in this room. I think I'm done. There is a lot more. Myself and the guys on the Discord soon realised that there is a lot more of these than we thought. I don't think I'm going to be collecting them all simply because I just don't have the shelf space, but I do like having that one shelf of them. I think they look really good, and I'd have been more than happy for all the 360 games to have this sort of light green and dark green 360 logo. I think it looks better than the sort of inverted white that you tend to get. But we'll make our way around. If you see like duplicates, like this for example, this is like the not for resale version that was sent out to sort of reviewers, that kind of thing. For some reason they were sort of like, they appear very faded. But yeah, there's some fantastic games on the system, and as you can see I've got like Game of the Year editions alongside the standard editions. This is a cool one, might not be the best game, but a very nice collector's edition. This one I'm still getting a bit of stick for to this day, My Horse and Me Too. It's become an incredibly rare and expensive game on the 360. I actually played through this, or played a bit of it on one of my videos. Not the best game in my collection, but it's a funny one. It's become quite synonymous with the channel. This is really nice, Street Fighter X Tekken. I'm a big Street Fighter fan. You'll see a lot of Street Fighter things throughout my room. This is actually still sealed. I've got a bit of a strange, I guess, issue when it comes to sealed collector's editions of this era. I think that the cling film they're in, it tends to like shrink over time, and a lot of them tend to get a bit of damage on those boxes, so that's one that I'm keeping an eye on. A lot of them I've had to unseal just to break them free. So you'll notice that the Xbox 360 games are broken up by Lego figures. So I'm a big fan of minifigure collecting. So at the end of the day, I'm at a point with stuff, as you'll see throughout this room tour, where I don't have a lot of space. So small things, small collections really appeal to me, and there's not many smaller things to collect than Lego minifigures. I'm a huge fan of Greek mythology, ancient Rome, all that kind of stuff. So I've been army building. So this first shelf is the enemies, the bad guys if you like. And then this one is the sort of Romans themselves. Got the Emperor in the middle. I did not know when I started collecting these that these things have become ridiculously expensive. There's a lot of money's worth in just the few that I own. There's some more, we'll get to those in a moment, and I'll also get to the overarching plan with those minifigures as we move around the room a bit more. So down here, one of the subsets I've got complete is Pro Evolution Soccer. I'm a huge Pro Evo fan. This was me growing up. My teenage years and early adult years were played Pro Evolution Soccer. Myself and friends, just great memories. And even just a couple of nights ago, I had a friend round and we played Pro Evo 2008. Adriano at Inter Milan. If you know, you know, right? The GOAT. And then, yeah, more of the same. I recently completed the Spider-Man collection. So I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6, 7. The number keeps growing. 7 Spider-Man games on the 360, some of which have become quite difficult to get now. And speaking of games which have become quite difficult to get, I should have probably highlighted the Crash Time series. So that's one I recently completed. There's 5 Crash Time games on the 360. Now, thankfully, have them all. And this one's quite an interesting shelf because there's some really nice collector's editions. If you hear my knees click throughout, I'm an old man. So the Bioshock one, love that Big Daddy statue. Often that statue is broken, but this one thankfully is in really nice condition. Legends of Troy, that's a really good one. My favourite Warriors game to date. And this is one worth highlighting as well. Castlevania Lords of Shadow. This comes with like the mask. Loved that game. That was my favourite game that I played through last year. And then we start with what is just sort of sleeve covers. So games that come in cardboard. Some very nice stuff here. And that's what I love about this era. So from the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era, so many games came with different variants. And I'm still finding different pieces of cardboard on these games that I never knew existed until now. And I tend to group these together when I display them. You'll see throughout this room, I do alphabetize, but ahead of alphabetization, I like to do aesthetics. So things look different are either in sleeve covers or as we get down here, at the commencement of sleeve covers, we get to steelbooks. I sort of group them together in that way. Some really nice steelbooks here. I'd say this one's probably my favourite. I'm not the biggest Dragon Ball fan, but the artwork on this is just, yeah, it's absolutely stunning. More steelbooks. And then we get to this section here, which is just sort of like the bigger box stuff. Some of my favourites here probably be the Tekken Tag Tournament. That's a really nice one there. A very small Xbox One section. I enjoy the Xbox One, but I'm not a big collector of it. I mean, there's not many exclusives or anything, to be honest. These are just things that I've amassed over time. I found really cheap. So they're all together there. And then we get back to 360 down here. And this again is even bigger stuff. Big box collector's editions. These two that look like a book are, I think, Soul Calibur. Yeah, Soul Calibur 5, Fable 3. And then some really nice ones here. Fear 3, which comes with a very odd, unnerving statue. Mortal Kombat. And probably my favourite is this Darksiders 2 one. I love how it comes with a mask. Really good game as well. And this sign that I've just moved out the way is an Xbox official stockist sign. So I actually went to a game shop a few years ago and the guy had this and it was brand new in the bag. And I said, oh, can I have that? He said, yeah, sure. Xbox sent it me, I ain't got any room for it. I think he charged me like £5, so I was well happy with that. I don't think I've seen one since, but I would like to find a better home for it than stacked down there, but it will do for now. That shelf we're not looking at, because that's all stuff that I haven't yet shown on the channel. So there's loads of good stuff that I still need to show in a future pickups video. But yeah, that's the 360 area. With 360 collecting, I'm pretty much done. I've got most of the games I want. There's a handful of expensive ones I'm still after, but I'm not giving it any more real estate in this room. So as and when I get new 360 games, I'm going to take out some of the more filler titles and add the better ones. And as I say, these are Billy bookcases, but this up top, got to give a shout to my friend Kev. I'll climb up on the sofa a little bit to show you guys. But this is a topper. So this is like a piece of clear acrylic. There's LED lights running throughout, and it gives this beautiful effect. I'm really, really happy with this. Yeah, just like icing on the cake, really, that. We'll get to my other lighting and stuff as we get across the room. But sticking with 360, of course, we have to talk about the kiosk. So this kiosk, I've done a lot of work to in the past 12 months or so. But the story of getting this was kind of a crazy one. So this was on Marketplace, and it was a bargain price. It was on for something stupid like £200, which is ridiculously cheap, especially by nowadays. This was probably 5 or 6 years ago. I messaged the person and said, look, can I have it? And they said, we need it gone tonight for whatever reason. If you can get it tonight, you can have it for £100. I didn't hang around. I called my uncle. I said, I need your help. I jumped in my car. I drove to Liverpool, which is where I had to get it from. So it was, I don't know, an hour and a half or so away. We got back to my house about midnight-ish. Well worth it. This was on a third story student flat. So it was interesting getting it down the stairs. It was disgusting. It was covered in chewing gum. It was all beat up. Had writing on it, stickers on it. It had been unloved, shall we say. So I cleaned it from top to bottom, giving it a new lease of life. And it started with this TV. So as you'll see from my room, I like the white aesthetic. I like things clean. This was originally a black screen. So shout out to Graham. We tracked down the white version of said screen. I put the white Xbox 360 console in, and I replaced what was the black 360 controllers with nice fresh white ones. And again, shout out to Kev. He did me these custom Street Fighter decals. So this was originally Connect. Nobody likes to Connect, and the artwork was absolutely dreadful. I didn't want to leave it that way. So we sort of sat down with one of his designers at his factory, and we tried to create what it would look like had they made a Street Fighter 4 kiosk. And I think we did a good job. The plan was to very much make it look legit, and I think we achieved that. I'm really happy with it. And I love Street Fighter 4, love the artwork. For me, it was the last good Street Fighter game. That might be somewhat controversial. But yes, I used to have... I've had 6 kiosks over my collecting life, but they take up a lot of room. This is the one that's remained just because I find it very accessible. There's loads of games that lend themselves to standing up playing. It looks great. When it lights up, it's all green. It's a fantastic piece. So yeah, very happy with this one. And then we're going to make our way around to this area, which is one of my favourite areas in the room now. I do want to point this out. So this empty space here, I am going to affix this. So this Ryu standee. This was actually, as you can see by this ring tab here, this was part of a Red Bull promotional campaign, I believe somewhere in the States. They've become very sought after. So there was like a Street Fighter Red Bull crossover. Now, originally, this had a standee coming off it here, and it was dark blue, and it just had a load of Red Bull information on it. I didn't want that, so I painstakingly got a Stanley knife and cut this out to the same sort of like width that the white outline is on this side. I think it looks great. These have actually become quite hard to find now, quite expensive. But yeah, this will be stuck to this shelving once I get it sorted out. But like I say, guys, this is all new, and some of this is still a work in progress. As you're going to see as we move our way around to this side of the room, which I've dubbed the red side. We're going to get to that in a moment. But yeah, this is the newest section that I've recently done. And this is my PlayStation 3. So this is what I mean by separating games in terms of how they look. So you'll see that the older PlayStation 3 games have the red PS3 logo at the top, the old logo. Now I want to point out as well, I exclusively collect PAL. If you don't know, I'm based in the UK, I'm in England. I grew up with PAL. I try and limit my collecting. Collecting's a disease, right? And I'm very much infected with it. So just collecting PAL is one of the ways that I inhibit myself to not collect too much. But again, great system. I love both the PS3 and the 360. I'd probably say it's the only time that I prefer the Xbox console over the PlayStation. No shade on PS3. I just love the 360. But yeah, after those games, we have some bigger box stuff. These are really nice. This is a subset I'm actively going for. I want all of the Lego big box stuff that comes with a minifigure. All of these minifigures are still sealed inside, so I'm trying to get them all sealed. I'm trying to get them in nice condition, which is why it's taken me quite a bit of time. One of my absolute favourites is this God of War trilogy. I'll see if I can get it out without destroying too much of my display. Oh no! We're a man down! It was worth it to show you this though. Look at this. Love this artwork. And again, another thing that's become quite sought after. Quite a difficult and expensive piece of cardboard to get, especially in that condition. Speaking of which, this Killzone trilogy is quite a new piece for me in the collection, and another one which has rocketed in price. Because this contains the only way to play, I think there's original Killzone games in HD. Yeah, this is well over £100 now, which is silly money, but very happy I got it for a good price. And then over here, we have got, well, we should have two, because there's old Zeus over here has fell to the floor. But this is probably my favourite toy line. So this is the DC God of War 3 action figure line. God of War 3 is one of my favourite games of all time. And these are sort of separated throughout the shelf. This is just a 3D printed God of War logo. So that there is Hades. You've seen Zeus on the floor. Hiding down there on the next shelf is Hercules. And we'll get to the others momentarily. But this next shelf down is the larger shelf for some of the bigger box stuff that's pretty hard to house. This is, I love this Metal Gear Solid 4. Guns of the Patriots. Comes with this beautiful statue inside. So we've got the Killzone Hellgast helmet here. You still pick these up really cheap. I just think they make great display. I love breaking up my shelves with display pieces, collector's editions, that kind of thing. The Last of Us, of course, you've got to have the Ellie edition. Being a collector, I am on the lookout for the Joel edition. I'm not going to lie. Consumerism's got the best of me. They knew what they were doing. So I will be getting the Joel edition. I would like to have both of those. And the God of War Ascension collector's edition. This is one of them interesting ones. There was a period of time when nobody wanted this. I remember this being like £30. Nobody could sell it. God of War Ascension didn't quite get the love the other God of War games got. I think in its own right it's a good game. It just was a backward step from God of War 3. But anyway, yeah, this has rocketed in price. It kind of became sought after randomly. So it's now like well in excess of £100. But I remember when you couldn't give these things away. And then this is a really interesting piece. So this is, again, I'm trying to do it without destroying my room. This is a promotional kit. So this is what they send to reviewers and that kind of thing. Inside here is like a scroll and artwork and all kinds of really cool stuff for, again, God of War 3, which is one of my favourite games. So having that is brilliant. It doesn't really display very well. It just looks like a piece of wood on the shelf. But yeah, I'm very happy to own that. And then we come across here. My favourite film of all time is Pulp Fiction. These are, I think they're by a company called Titan. So these would have been blind box minifigures. They've just become incredibly hard to find. I still need, I think, 4 or 5 of these to complete the set. But it's very rare. I think I had this guy in probably the last 12 months. That's it. Very few and far between do these things come available. But I'm slowly getting the full set. And then we get to the main bulk of the collection. Standard PlayStation 3 titles. Some really good games in here. I've just added these that are for some reason slightly uncommon. These Assassin's Creed collections here. Asura's Wrath. Again, we've already spoke about Darksiders 2. DuckTales Remastered's a really good one. And we've got various different iterations of God of War. This God of War Saga is really nice. I think this was a French release. And then we've obviously got more of the same down here. I'm slowly going for all the HD games. That's another subset I'm working on. So we've got one there, and there's a few others dotted throughout. We've got the Prince of Persia trilogy. And yeah, just Ratchet and Clank, etc, etc. So really nice games. Tekken Hybrid's an interesting one. Again, that's becoming quite expensive. It's the only way you can play the original Tekken Tag on HD, because that was a PlayStation 2 game originally. So if you see that one, it's worth grabbing. And here is the last of those God of War 3 DC action figure line. Now, what's very cool about this is I've actually got, you can just see it behind there. There he is, getting into focus now. So that is, the word escapes me now, but like, you can't buy that. That's basically what they would have used within the factory to create the mold for that. I randomly saw it on eBay 8 years ago. I was watching it, and the price kept coming down. I think prototype, that's the word. And eventually I picked it up. So I've got the full set plus one. Love having the prototype. It's got like text written on the bottom, handwritten and stuff. So they probably use that along the way to create the mold or for the making process somewhere. But yeah, love that. I love things that you're not supposed to be able to buy. There's a lot of promotional stuff in this room. And then we've got the God of War 3 Ultimate Trilogy Edition. So this comes with Pandora's box. Love this thing. And again, another one of the things that's just become very scarce. It just displays really well. It displays well both sides, so you can flip it up, but it's really big. This way it takes up a lot less room. All this God of War 3 stuff, all this artwork, I just absolutely love it. Yeah, very, very happy with that. Down here is where we break the tradition a little bit, because this is big box Switch stuff. So it's predominantly Strictly Limited shmups. Shout out to Strictly Limited. Got some really nice big box shmups here. I'm a big fan of all things shooters. And then we've also got Cuphead, one of my favourite games. Love this game. And up here we've just got a little Conker's Bad Fur Day guy that I found. He plugs in that gap nicely. And this is very much a project in the works. So this is the ultimate plan for the Lego minifigures that you've seen. So myself and my son, we love Lego. I love watching a lot of Lego content on YouTube. I watch a lot of people that build cities and different terrains and stuff. And that's what the plan for this is. So this is going to become a big battle scene. We're going to build sort of like valleys and rivers and stuff on here. And we're going to have all of those Lego minifigures that you've just seen battling it out on here. So it's very much a father-son project that I'm looking forward to doing with him. So yeah, that's going to be good in due course. So that will slowly start to grow over the course of the year. Back to PlayStation 3. And it's separated here into steelbooks. So again, some really nice steelbooks in here. And then the God of War 3 Ascension controller. Love this controller. I don't know why we don't make controllers like this anymore. So if you look at this, it's got the artwork from the game. It's got Kratos' face. It's got the God of War logo. Nowadays, everything's really minimalist, isn't it? And you just get like plain things. Just give me more stuff that's got the character on it. Seems to be a bit of a dying art. But anyway, ran over. We move on to my sleeve covers for PlayStation 3. These are a personal highlight of mine. Love these. So I've got the 3 variants of the SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 game. So there's an Undertaker, Bret Hitman Hart, and Randy Orton one. Again, becoming quite difficult to find some of those now, so very happy with that. And this Stone Cold Steve Austin one that you can see here, that was an amazing find. That cost me like £3 in a local CX. It comes with a hand-signed Stone Cold Steve Austin card and stuff. And then we've got Sackboy Kratos and a mini one. And over here, a mini promotional Hitman. I think this was given out at like an E3 or something back in the day to promote Hitman Absolution. That's fell off. It needs a bit of super glue. There's a few things throughout the room that I need to buy super glue for, but hey, that's the life of a collector. And then down here, these are 2 of my favourite things in the room. I don't know if this is the best home for them. I'd like to have them displayed more, but such is life as a collector. There's so many cool things in here that not everything can have prime real estate. But these are by a Hong Kong company called Big Boys Toys. I'm a huge fan of Street Fighter. There's loads of Street Fighter merchandise in this room. This is probably my favourite of all of it. And these are my 2 favourite characters. And whilst I would like to have more of these, they're just big bulkies. They're called bulkies, right? They're called Big Boys Toys bulkies, and they live up to the name. I just love like the cell shading on them. These things need to be seen in person to be appreciated, really. But yeah, very, very cool. And down here, something else which has become quite rare. God of War Ascension console. So this is the Super Slim. I'm not a fan of the Super Slim. And obviously this was towards the end of the PS3 life cycle. So it's become quite a difficult thing to find. But yeah, again, just love the God of War artwork. Here, this is very interesting. This was sent to me by a friend in Poland. So this is the Tekken 5 promotional piece. Love this. I just put it on this drawer. This drawer is just hiding all kinds of random stuff. Magazines, books, guides, that kind of stuff. But love the artwork on it. And this shelf is purgatory. So there's some real cool stuff in here. A lot of recent Game Boy editions and stuff like that. Loads of Mega Drive. We'll get to Mega Drive later. Jimmy from Pulp Fiction. This fantastic Battle of Z Dragon Ball here. All these SNES manuals. We've even got graded games down here. All sorts going on. But basically this is, like I say, a holding area for things that I still need to find a home for. But it's stuff that has been shown on the channel. So it is camera safe. And then we're going to make our way outward. And I got to talk about this. So we'll move Zeus. So shout out to James and shout out to a company called Retro Rugs. They made my logo in this rug format and it fits perfectly there. The only thing is I don't want to wipe my feet on it. So when I come in and out this door, I try and step over it right now, but it's very, very cool. Love that. This is an amazing piece as well. I want to show you guys this. So this is a great game. If you don't know about this game, check it out 100%. It's called Abathur. Really good fun. And I spoke about this game a lot on my channel as I was playing through it. And the developers actually watched and they contacted me and thanked me. And they sent me this. So this is a 1-of-1 print of the game. And it's been signed by David, the developer. Thank you for playing my game. Love things like that. I never knew when I started a channel that this is sort of like the stuff I'd be getting. So that means a lot. The reason it's down here is because I'm just struggling for wall space. But at some point, I will find a proper home for this guy. And then we've got to talk about this, right? I'm a huge fan of standees. At one point, I probably had well over 100 standees in my collection. But they're very difficult things to house. Very difficult things to own. You can't display them all. They take up a lot of space. So I've just got my favourite ones in this room. And the artwork is absolutely stunning. I've never seen another one of these. So obviously, this is from the Red Dead Undead Nightmare, which was like the DLC expansion to the original Red Dead. Yeah, I didn't even know this thing existed. Saw it randomly one day, couldn't even find another one online. So this is all like 3D. So this part of it sticks out. And on the actual standee, so I do have the whole thing. There's also a larger back to this. And then this bit also stands out. So it's like 3 layers. But I couldn't house it all. And to be honest, I think it looks better like this. I've of course kept that original piece. So I do have the complete standee. But I just think the artwork looks great. I think it works perfectly on the door. This I just used to cover the door. I keep all light out of here. I keep all sunlight out. I am probably going to put a bit of filler in here as well. But I'm going to quickly show you guys out here. So this is a private area, only accessible to myself, only accessible through the games room. And that is what I've dubbed the Ghetto Gym. I'll give you guys a very quick tour. So this is my private outdoor area. It's very much Ghetto Gym by name, Ghetto Gym by nature. Got some really nice large pieces here on the outside of the fence. So we've got Sagat and Ryu again, my favourites. Very fortunate, got a beautiful view of the field out here. There's often cows, but the cows aren't here this morning to welcome me. And I'm filming this in the morning because it's so hot here in the UK right now. We're in the midst of a heat wave. So yeah, that's the Ghetto Gym. It's got everything that I need to keep me ticking over. But back into the games room. And we've got to make our way to what is probably my favourite shelving, not only in this room, but I think I've ever seen. I'm not going to say this is the best games room, right? There's always someone bigger and better, but I don't think shelving comes much better than this, in my opinion. For me, it's all about filling the space and doing it in an attractive way. And yeah, I absolutely love this. So let's get into it. Up here, 2 of my favourite collector's edition statues ever. So we've got God of War 2018, and then this. I didn't realise how much of an Assassin's Creed fan I was until I played Odyssey earlier this year. Fell in love with it. But I do love this statue. That Medusa base and Alexios in that pose. I don't think gaming statues get much better than that. It just sits up there so well, that pose. And whilst I'm up here, I might as well show you this. So this is my light. Shout out to Kev once again. My logo light. This is fantastic. It all lights up. As well as it being lit up, it is all backlit. So this protrudes from the wall, and then it's like backlit behind it. It looks fantastic. The reason it's not on, it doesn't like the camera. It will sort of flickering and stuff. And whilst I'm up here, I might as well show you these lights. So when I had this room plastered, I had these lights put into the perimeter, and these run completely round the perimeter of the ceiling. It looks better in real life. On camera, you very much can see the individual bulbs. In reality, it's not quite as prominent as that. But yeah, it's just a great light, especially when you're gaming, just to have that one light on rather than these big spotlights, of which I've got 6. These can be controlled individually as well. But back to it. Nintendo Switch fast became one of my favourite consoles of all time. And you know the drill by now, guys. We've separated it into sort of like cardboard pieces. This has been separated because of the colour. This Rich of the Night one's really interesting, actually. I think this was part of the Kickstarter campaign. Might be the same for This Wonderful Life. So yeah, they were like, if you had backed it on Kickstarter, really nice pieces of cardboard. And then, yeah, like I say, fast become one of my favourite consoles ever. Love it. Love the library of games. So many great games in here. Too many to sort of pick out and mention, really. I'll let you guys take a look for yourselves. But this is a library that I'm going to keep adding to. I want to keep growing it. I love the fact that they're red. I love the fact that they're thin, so you can get a lot of them, right? They're collector friendly. I don't know if I'm going to be quite as avid with my Switch 2 collecting. Time will tell. I'm sitting on the fence with the Switch 2, but I haven't bought one yet. I will do, of course. And then I've extended it down here, run out of space. This isn't in alphabetical order or anything just yet. These are just new games that I popped in there for now. But this is really interesting. So this here is a Nintendo Power figure, Luigi's Mansion. I've got most of the Nintendo Power statues. You'll see them throughout the rest of the room. But yeah, again, something which has become quite hard to get hold of. Especially unboxed. You see a lot of these boxed on eBay for ridiculous prices. I'm a boxed game collector, unboxed toy and statue collector. I like to let them breathe. It's a great statue. This is really interesting as well. So this is, I think, from Mario Odyssey era. No, sorry, Mario Galaxy era. Around 2010. And this guy's got that little suction cup. Can you see it there? So it will affix to the top of a shelf. I'm just waiting to find him a forever home. And then once I do, I'm going to stick him to the top of something so he'll be flying forever. It's a really cool piece once you get it stuck to a surface. And then we get to another set of Big Boys toys. So these are by the same company that made these bulkies down here. Love these things. So we've got 6 of these. I would like more, but it's just about space. They're so cool. So these are called TNC, the new challengers. And what these things do is they all light up and they all make sounds like so. Panic boom! So good, right? Absolutely love them. There is a Sagat one, so I might have to find a way of extending over to here and have Sagat there. He is one of my favourite characters, so yeah, maybe that collection will grow. And then we go down a bit. This is probably one of my proudest collections because I've said a few times and I still believe it to be true. I believe this is the world's only full set of PlayStation 3 Essentials. So if you don't know, PlayStation 3 Essentials are like greatest hits. So these were PAL territory only. Budget range, if you like. Now, I started collecting these because I loved the red spines. I thought they looked great. I love the colour red, as you can see. But it just sort of became a rabbit hole. It took on a life of its own. A lot of people started collecting these, which is fantastic. So a lot of people went on the journey with me. But the reason I say that I believe this is the only full set, number one, because I haven't been proved wrong. There's a couple of people on my Ghetto Gang Discord that are very close, but not quite there yet. And also, it's a mad thing to do. There's 21 of these things from memory. And the reason it's so difficult is because they're from various different regions. Very, very difficult to get hold of some of these. They only came out in certain countries in very small numbers. And there's games such as FIFA 17, which you wouldn't expect, right? But that's one of the rarest games in my entire collection in Essentials format. There's only 3, I think, that we know of currently. 3 people on my Discord own this. I think it was a very short-lived game that came out in South Africa only. I didn't even know South Africa was PAL until I started on this crazy journey. And thankfully, having an audience on YouTube helped me to complete this, because if it wasn't for the fantastic people that helped me in various countries like the Netherlands, Austria, South Africa, and other places, I never would have been able to complete this set. Absolutely no way. So, yeah, I'm very proud to have the full set of PS3 Essentials. I think they look so good on the shelf. If, like me, you like the colour red, yeah, it's just a long journey, right? It was all documented on the channel. And I had to finish it off, celebrate it with this. So, in my opinion, the PS3 Slim, not the Super Slim, but this Slim, is the nicest looking console of all time. It's a little bit dusty. The nicest looking console of all time. I just love how sleek it is. I think this is a timeless design. There's another one of these we'll get to later on in the room. But for me, I like the red one. So for me, personally, this is the best looking console ever made. Let me know in the comments what you think it is. But for me, just timeless, timeless design. This is Kid Robot Hot Ryu. We'll get to a lot more of those shortly. And then we make my way down to what is currently one of my favourite collections to collect for. I'm going for old school OG Game Boy. I just love it. Love the cardboard. Love the artwork. There's just something very charming about it. In terms of Pokemon, I'm not a huge Pokemon game collector. Not a huge Pokemon guy. But the original games, yes. This is one of the only turn-based RPGs I've actually played through. And then, yeah, I like the display. I love the way I've displayed it. They just lend themselves so well to being displayed with all this uniform Game Boy written on the side. This is like an old school Mario pencil sharpener from '94, I believe. There's a lot of like early '90s Mario and Nintendo stuff throughout this room. And then, yeah, some really nice stuff here. Metroid 2, the Mario trilogy, Zelda. And by Zelda, one of my favourite things in the room, actually. I love small things like this. Like I say, early 90s stuff. So this is a Link wind-up toy. I think this is from way back. This might even be from 1989. Don't quote me. I'm not sure of the years, but from the original Legend of Zelda game on the NES. And that still winds up and still walks to this day. Never seen one before. Probably likely never see one again. So I'm delighted to have that in my collection. And then we've got some more subsets underneath. So this is the Lego subset. So these came out on Xbox One and PS4. Nice, easy set to collect. All these pieces of cardboard, they're still readily available. You can find these out and about. But I just think they make a great display. And again, I've tried to do everything in terms of like color coding. I've took it to the extreme with Super Nintendo, which we'll get to shortly. And another one of those Nintendo Power figures I was talking about. So this one's from Ocarina of Time. And this is an old... Wait, it's a reproduction. It was made by Club Nintendo of the original... I'm not going to try and pronounce it. But basically the cards that Nintendo started making when they first formed the company, before they made video games. That's a box of those there. And we get to these. These are great. So for those of you that aren't from the UK, there's a shop called Game. Probably similar to your kind of GameStop. And they did these game exclusive, only on PlayStation sleeves. Beautiful designs. I'd like to have more of this artwork on display, but again, it's just real estate, right? There's only so much space we've got. Tried to again do them in sort of color coordinated fashion. These have become very expensive, ridiculously so. In fact, people spending over £100 for a cardboard sleeve. I'm not knocking them. I've spent a lot of money on a lot of things that's probably questionable for people, but yeah, just a great set to have. I love how they display. And then we get to what is PlayStation Hits. So this felt like a natural progression from PS3 Essentials. And thankfully there's not as many. There's only like 52 or so from memory. Maybe I'm wrong, can't remember, it's been a while now. But this is the full set. So this is the PlayStation 4 equivalent of those sort of like budget ranges. And again, like all subsets, there are rare ones that you wouldn't expect. UFC 2 is a rare one. What other one was it? Gundam. That was a hard one to find. That was, I believe, a Polish exclusive. I think everyone I knew found it in Poland. Horizon Zero Dawn's actually strangely hard to find because the complete edition is the one that you see a lot. So yeah, all subsets are harder than you think they're going to be. There's always some which are difficult to find. But as I say, I love the colour red, and I think the red section together, it's all come together really well. Down here, we've got the last of the Nintendo Switch stuff. So this is just Nintendo Switch bigger box. Huge shmup fan, I've already said, so for me the Sikia, Alpha and Brava collections are a must. Just recently got this Iron Meat here. Fantastic game, Shattered Strictly Limited. And it comes in this like really nice tin. Perky little things. I'll let you do your own research into that one. Okinawa Rush, I've just started playing that. Really fun game, that is. Really, really fun game. So yeah, that's the bigger box cardboard Switch stuff. And then we get to one of my pride and joys. My Street Fighter action figure collection. There's so many cool, rare and valuable figures in here. They're all just about on display. I wish I could display them better. I love this collection, and again, it's one of those collections that for me is getting hard to add to. It's very few and far between that I come across figures that I want for this collection that I don't already own. So the vast majority of these are SOTA, state-of-the-art toys. That's my favourite Street Fighter toy line. There are exceptions. Some of these aren't SOTA. They're just ones that I like and want in my collection. Like DJ, he's a newer addition because that's the only figure of him ever made. So things like that I don't mind putting in. But for the most part, these are either SOTA or Resaurus, which was an even older Street Fighter toy line. And this carried on over 2 shelves. Recently added Blanca, which as you can imagine was hard to add such a big figure into all the madness that is my Street Fighter collection. You would think with all the Street Fighter stuff in this room that I'm good at Street Fighter. I'm not. I love playing it, but I've never been very good at it. I just love the artwork, love the character designs. Always have done from back in the day of Street Fighter 2. And yeah, so that's my Street Fighter shelves. I think they look great. And then we make our way down to what is the full PAL Wii U set. So one of my sort of like collector goals, if you like, was to have a full set of games. Wii U seemed like the most attainable. There's like 162 in the set, I think. I completed this a few years ago now, probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was a lot cheaper than it is now. Just a great set to have. For the fact that, like I say, it's doable. They're constantly going up in value. And it's just cool. I love the blue spines, love the blue boxes. Very unique in that way. They've got like their own cases and stuff like that. It carries on over to this side. We'll get to the bigger box Wii U stuff momentarily. But yeah, there are, of course, like all sets, some expensive ones, shmup collection. There's also Finding Teddy 2, which were Pixel Hot exclusives. There's various. Phineas and Ferb ended up costing me a bit of money, but it kind of goes up and down. People discover more, right? And it's like playing stocks and shares sometimes, collecting games. But yeah, full Wii U PAL set. And then down from there, more Street Fighter. So these are the Kid Robot Minis. Now, sadly, there was only ever 2 series of these. I wish they'd made more. I love collecting for these guys. And again, I've only got a handful left to collect, but it's just seldom do I see ones online or on eBay that I don't already own. And I just love creating these little shelves. As expensive as these IKEA shelves are, they're like £12 each now. I do use a lot of them. I love a mini shelf like this. I just think it's great use of space. And again, some of these are harder to attain. So this Gold Ryu, for example, and this Mecha Zangief, they were like SDCC exclusives, I think 2018 potentially. And there is still, like I said, a couple more of these that I haven't yet found, but delighted with that collection. I think it looks great. And then we get down here. This is just a random Marvin the Martian like statue that I found out and about in the game hunt one day. Liked the colours of him, brought him home. We get to Wii. So Nintendo Wii, bigger box cardboard again. Some really nice cardboard in here. I love that Metroid Prime trilogy. The Akami one's beautiful. That was a HMV exclusive. I'm not going to get all this stuff out, guys. I've only got one pair of hands. And then the Wii collection itself. So the Wii is widely regarded as having a lot of shovelware, and you would be right in thinking that. But there's also some really good games in there. You've just got to search for it. I compare it to going to like TK Maxx or TJ Maxx, depending on where you are in the world. There's a lot of crap, but if you search through it, you will find some really good games like Sin and Punishment, for example. And yeah, we've got Samurai Showdown Anthology. That one took me quite a while to find. Lots of good stuff. Trackmania. But yeah, that's my Wii collection. Again, we'll get some big box stuff later on. The only Super Nintendo games that aren't with the Super Nintendo wall are these. So these are the Nintendo Classics. I put these here because, well, it's red in it. This is like the red wall. So if you watch 50 Shades of Grey, some people have a red room. I've got a red wall. Mine's made up of video games. I prefer mine, to be honest. So yeah, this is mostly the common ones. Bomberman probably a little bit more uncommon, but it's just ridiculous the price of some of these. You know, you're talking like getting a £30 to £50 game and making it £300 to £500 game simply because it says Nintendo Classics on it. Just because some of them have become so rare, like Donkey Kong's, for example. Some of those are like £300 plus. I'd love to complete the set. I don't think there's that many in the line, maybe 10 or 11, but yeah, one day. And then down here, we've got what was, I think, McDonald's Mario. So yeah, that is this wall, and hopefully you guys can agree with me. It looks fantastic. But making our way over to this side now, behind Master Chief, I have this framed copy of Retro Gamer. So Retro Gamer is like the retro video game collecting magazine, right? It's one I've been looking at for years. And if you're like me, you always pick it up and go straight to Collector's Corner. Well, one of my collector's goals was to get in it. And in this episode is like an expose on my collection. I was in Collector's Corner. Very fortunate enough to be in that. So that was very much a collector's goal of mine. Ticked off the list. And speaking of collector's goals, I always wanted a life-size figure. And yeah, I have two now, but the first one in here is Master Chief. Love this guy. I'm not even the biggest Halo fan. I like Halo. I've played for a lot of the games. It's just more how great this looks as a piece in the room. So the way I got this was mad. So these things are ridiculously expensive. So you buy a German company. I think they're called like, I can't remember, Oxymox or something like that. And if you want to buy one of these new, about 3,000 euros plus shipping on top of that. It's a lot of money, right? And I saw somebody advertise this on eBay, and the opening bid was like really low, and it'd only just been listed. It was like £200. And I said to the guy, look, I can come and get it tonight if you do a buy it now. And to my astonishment, he went for it. I think I spent about 250 quid maybe. It was about an hour away, so it wasn't far. Jumped straight in the car. Got my son. My son was getting ready for bed. I was like, mate, we're going on an adventure. Took him out in his pajamas. He loved it. So you've got to strike when the iron's hot, right, in this collecting game. Just delighted to have this. So you'll notice his arm is down there. So this statue is complete. I've also got the base in storage. The reason the arm's down there is I took his arm off so that I could put these big shelves in. And to be honest, it really doesn't bother me. I don't really think it's noticeable. He's still got the great pose. It just looks like his arm's by his side. And yeah, it fits in nicely. And also down here, we have, this is an original store display Xbox light. Lights up brilliantly. I love this. I'll try and flick it on actually if I can find the right switch. Not that one. Actually, whilst that's on, I'll show you. Right, it's not plugged in, sorry. What I've just turned on there is the green light. So I've got a green LED that runs up that side. So it does light up Master Chief. It looks great at night having the green glow behind Chief. And I did just turn on this light as well, so I'll quickly show you that if it'll focus. There we go. Again, you can see why it's flickering, which is why I've not got it on for this video. So we'll turn those off. And then we're going to make our way over to this side of the room. As you can see, there's a lot of games to talk about. But before we get to Super Nintendo, I think we'll go down here. So this is the continuation, as we've already seen, of the Wii U full set. And then there's some bigger box Wii U stuff here. I don't know why I've got two versions of Mario Maker. I think they were just cheap, so I picked them up. This is an interesting one, this Rodea Sky Soldier. This was quite a limited release. Don't see it very often. So that's a nice one. Some of these do need a bit of a dusting look. But yeah, Project Zero and a lot of the other big box stuff. I like the fact that it's uniform. Too many collector's editions aren't uniform. We need to change that, right? But then we get to Wii stuff. So there's some big box Nintendo Wii. This one's still sealed. This is really nice. Last Story. And Pandora's Box. These were the two that I really wanted for the Wii. This Red Steel 2. Again, one you don't see very often. Same with this Overkill hand cannon. I picked this up for like £10. Apparently it's a lot more than that now. Just makes a great display piece. Takes up a lot of space in my room. But I don't know. I just think it looks great. So that's there. And underneath here, we've got PlayStation 4. Now's the time to collect for PlayStation 4, right? It's cheap. It's such a great library of games. The way I tend to collect for my PlayStation 4 collection is bigger box stuff, collector's edition, sleeves, weird and wonderful stuff, right? So basically beyond the standard game. Spider-Man. This one's a really interesting one. I'll try and show you. Infamous Second Son. So it comes with like a jacket that goes over the game, like zips up. That's really cool. And this is another one that's very cool that you don't see very often. So this is Far Cry Primal. I'll try and show you with one hand. I love the way it opens. Look at that. So it's got like the teeth of like a saber-toothed tiger. Again, I love innovative collector's editions. I love it when companies go above and beyond and make a bit of effort with stuff. I'm trying to do all this with one hand. There we go. Slot that back in there. Try and tidy up as we go. Lovely jubbly. And then, yeah, there's lots of bigger box stuff. This Horizon one's nice. There's actually 3 of these twin pack Lego movie to game movie packs, I think they're called. So that's probably a subset I need. Speaking of subsets, I'm one away from the cardboard Assassin's Creed PS4 games. There is one more I need for that collection. But yeah, really nice stuff. Andro Dunos is a highlight of mine. If you're into shmups and you haven't played Andro Dunos 2, get involved. I absolutely love that game. And I'm not the best at shmups. I enjoy them, but that's very much an entry level one. And then we've got more big box stuff over here. The Final Fantasy VII remake as I shuffle along. That's a really nice one. Very plain box art, but really well done. And what else have we got down here that's interesting? Dark Souls. Wanted's really cool. That comes with a bright pink steelbook. I'm very much an aesthetics guy and colours. Love Days Gone. And then we've got Neo Geo Mini here. Shout out to Gemma for that one. That was a gift. And I think we've got one more big box. Look at that. That's a great collector's edition, isn't it? That Ryu statue actually comes out and builds into a full-size Ryu statue. Really cool. And then it's more sort of steelbooks here across PS4. Standard PS4, I only buy ones that tend to only have got that release, or they're quite hard to find, like Battle Gregor, Don't have many NTSC games in my collection, but the ones that only came in NTSC, I don't mind so much. Just random stuff, right? Like this, for example, I'm an Arsenal fan. So I found that at my local CX. I've never seen a copy since, not online or in person or anything. So that was a nice little find. And what else have we got? This is cool. Love these. I always say, right, I wish they did more sleeves like this. So it's done in like the old PlayStation 1 style. I think it would have been great if there was a subset of these. Imagine if they'd done 10 or so in this old PS1 style. That would have been really cool. But sadly, no. And then, sat here is some of my rarest things in my room, right? So I did a video on these are called the ENIAC sleeves. So this is a Slovakian artist that does this fantastic artwork. And you could only get these in Slovakia, in a certain game store in Slovakia, so you can imagine how rare these are. But the artwork on them is absolutely stunning. The reason they're down here and they're not being displayed properly is because I haven't got all the games to fill them yet. So I'm going to have to buy duplicates of lots of games. I did it recently for those game only on PlayStation sleeves. I need to do it with these, but I'm waiting until I've got them all. And then once I have them all, I'm going to display these because, I mean, look at the artwork. And the back all forms together to make one larger picture. Absolutely stunning. This might be the rarest thing in my entire collection. No jokes. This Stellar Blade. This is the only copy that we know of. So there's a lot of collectors out there and a lot of people hunting these. We don't quite know the story with Stellar Blade. Shout out to the company that made these, actually. They saw a video I made on them and they sent me the ones I was missing, including this one. We think there may have been a legal dispute with this one. We're not sure, but seemingly the only copy that we've seen. That and the promotion. There's not any other images online. But yeah, you get the idea. Amazing, amazing artwork. It will be displayed by the time there's another room tour in the future. But for now, I'm just awaiting to get all of the games so that I can give them the display that they deserve. This is a nice one as well, actually, while we're here. Schoolgirl Second Encore. I think this was a strictly limited release. Really nice. Bit of cardboard. Another Kid Robot statue. We've got Mega Man here. Resident Evil 3 is just sat there because I'm currently playing through that. And then I've recently picked up this. I love this thing. So, being an Englishman, being a huge advocate of tea, and especially Yorkshire tea. I don't even call it tea. I call it Yorkshire these days. I have a cup of Yorkshire. Had to get this. When I first saw this online, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was like a meme or whatever. But no, this thing exists. How cool is that? Yorkshire tea controller. So they did do a PlayStation 5 one as well. My friend recently found out after contacting them, because we were wondering how many they were made. There's 350 each made of these, and that's it. They're not making any more. So these are obviously quite sought after amongst controller collectors, especially on the PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 5 one's very difficult to get a hold of. I would like to have both, but I'm a huge fan of Yorkshire tea. One day they're going to respond to me. But yeah, that's that wall. That section of this wall done. This is an interesting wall we'll go to next. So this is just like Nintendo. This is Nintendo cereal. Massively out of date now. I did actually say on a vlog about a year or so ago, if you want to see me eat it, let me know. I was going to eat it, but then loads of people told me you can die, or somebody died on YouTube eating out of date cereal. So yeah, I thought I'd best leave it sealed. Super Game Boy, just some random Nintendo big box stuff. I did have a bit of a Nintendo, Mario All-Stars shrine down here at one point. That's the Wii version. And then we've got this, so I absolutely love this. This, I think, was only released in, I think, maybe Spain and the Netherlands from memory. Again, I love the colour red. I'd never seen this before. Saw it in Super Game Shack, had to have it. And behind this is, I'll have to show you this, because this is what started this whole collection. This is what birthed a collector and a gamer. And that is this yellow box version. So this is the one we got in the UK. This is what I got one Christmas, I think maybe 1997, something like that. Yeah, this is what started it all. I love this thing. The nostalgia for that is ridiculous. I just don't have the room to display it. And like I say, I had to have this red one on display. Just a very, very cool piece. And just one that you never see here in the UK, really. It's very rare to see it. This one I bought was the first one I ever saw. I think what we'll do now is go down to PlayStation 1. So PlayStation 1 is something I was focusing on probably more so last year. I'm trying to go for like an all killer, no filler collection. I thinned it out a lot. I got rid of a lot of the filler and added some really nice stuff, such as this. So I'm a fan of cardboard in all guises. I'm a cardboard fetishist, self-professed. This is really great. So this is Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid Special Missions. Now this is the way to have it. It's supposed to be the platinum version in this collection. That's just the way it came. But yeah, you don't see much PlayStation 1 cardboard. And whilst we're here, this is a good opportunity to show off my hack. So this is my trunking hack. I use this throughout my room. So all my games, as you see, are pressed to the front of the shelves. I like them being prominent at the front rather than pushed back, each to their own, right? So this is just sort of standard trunking you can get from any hardware store to hide wires and stuff, and it just means you can push the games to the front. And I used to try and just do it by lining them up, but you'd end up just pushing them in, and it's just so annoying. So like this, I can just take games out, put them back, don't have to worry about it. They all stay nice and neatly in line. And yeah, it's a nice little hack, and it's relatively cheap, but the amount of trunking I bought is ridiculous. I bought miles of this stuff. So I'll quickly go through PlayStation 1. There's some very nice stuff. There's a lot of beat-em-ups, not beat-em-ups, fighters, should I say. I'm a big fan of fighters, especially in this era. This is one that I recently bought, Castlevania Chronicles. I would, of course, like to have Symphony of the Night, but I'm not paying £1,000 or whatever it is these days for that. We've got a Darkstalkers 3 is a nice one. Again, another fighter, especially Capcom fighters. These are interesting ones. I like the ones that came in these rental displays. Yeah, so this, as you see, rental only, not for resale. I found that in a charity shop for like £1. And another bit of cardboard here, the Grand Theft Auto Collector's Edition. But there's some very, very nice games. Like I said, I've tried to go for all killer, no filler. There will be the odd bit in here. I mean, Jackie Chan Stuntmaster is one which has gone through the roof in terms of pricing recently, as has Cooler World, Lomax, Marvel superheroes. There's just so many. I'm not going to sort of like name them all. And it's very awkward down on the floor. R-Type Delta. I'm going to quickly stand up and get to this last bit because I'm going to break my back trying to army crawl along. I'm an old man. But I did want to come down here because I wanted to show you guys Strada 2, that's a good one, but not that, no. Street Fighter collection, so I'm trying to get all the Street Fighter games and, you know, spin-offs from that, so like Street Fighter, X-Men versus Street Fighter, that kind of thing. Just love the artwork, love that era of gaming. They're not the best on the PS1, they're often better on the Sega Saturn, but I don't collect Sega Saturn, I've not got any nostalgia for it. So yeah, Wu-Tang, that's a good one. And again, we finish off with more cardboard. So this NBA Total 97 is a great one. Just love that. Look at that, like a basketball. And I actually played this on a session of post-credit gameplay. So most of my videos, I usually play one of the games that I bought on said video at the end. And it's just a great opportunity to play games that normally you just put on the shelves. This was one of them. I played this, loved it. I had such a good time. I've played that quite a few times since. And this is another one that's become quite difficult to find. So this is a Disney triple pack. Again, any PlayStation 1 cardboard's hard to come by now. There's actually 2 of these. And I think it's the only way you can get the Mickey's Wild Adventure in the black label, because that's always the platinum version when you find it. And I think you have to buy it via that method. And then we just randomly got a boxed memory card there. Then we get to my final bit of PlayStation 1, which is my crowning glory. So you'll see here, got Tekken, Tekken 2, and then look at that. Pieces of cardboard don't get much better than that, do they? So these are the combo packs. Now, there's loads of these, and me being a collector, I've already said it's a disease, and a subset collector at that, I'd love to buy them all. There's like 6, 7, 8 of these. There's Spyro ones, there's even a Barbie one. And all these are the game with a disc wallet, whatever you want to call it, right? Back in the day, we used to have these in our cars, right, for all our CDs. I don't care what's in it, I just love it. Look at the cardboard. It's so good, but they're all at least £200 each. This is my favourite one. This, if I was going to have one, if I am going to limit myself to one, it will be this one. But there is a thought in my mind that thinks how great would they look if I had them all stacked up here. But who knows, right? Watch this space, maybe one day. Right, so we've done PlayStation 1. Let's now turn our attention to GameCube. Whilst we're down here. Before I get to GameCube, look at this. I love this thing. So some of my favourite things in this room are the small bits and bobs, the weird and the wonderful. So this is a money bank from Taito, Bubble Bobble. I can't remember what year this was. It might be 1988. It's very old. But look at the colours. Look how it pops. Look at the condition it's in. I paid a stupid amount of money for this at a fair, a game fair. People were laughing at me until they saw what it was going for online. This is very, very rare. And look at it. I mean, just look at it. The colours. Love this guy. So he's going there for now. This is just one of them awkward filler shelves that I haven't found anything to put in here yet. You get that sometimes with Billy bookcases, right? But any sort of space is good space, so I'm sure I'll fill it at some point. But back to GameCube. It's difficult for me to film because it's like between my sofa and there's not a big gap. My GameCube collection is small. I've got all the stuff I want, all the Resident Evils, Metroids, Marios, Thousand Year Door, which is was at one point an expensive game. It's fell through the floor since the re-release. Ikaruga, and the stuff I really want to highlight to you guys is this cardboard section down here. Some beautiful cardboard on the GameCube. So we've got 2 different iterations, game exclusives of Mario Kart. So we've got the silver edition. There's also this gold edition. And this one is in beautiful condition. Resident Evil 4, look at that. Love that. And then my favourite of them all, which is a bit beat up, admittedly, but it's become very expensive and I'm just happy to have it. Wind Waker. How beautiful is that artwork? So yeah, GameCube cardboard has gone ridiculously priced. There's a GameCube tax on all GameCube, to be honest. This is only a small section of my GameCube collection simply because I've recently gone down the rabbit hole of collecting the Player's Choice Silver Box. That's a subset I'm currently working on. I've got a video of that coming very soon. So all of that stuff is hidden away for now. But next time you see this game room, I should hopefully have the full set of Player's Choice. I think there's like 61 that we've got listed via the guys on the Discord at the moment. So yeah, there will be more GameCube getting added to this. And that will go in this shelf down here over time, which is currently being occupied by my Capcom home arcade, which, let's be honest, it's a display piece. Luckily I got it cheap. It's very cumbersome to use, but it just looks great. I love Capcom. I love how they made it out of the logo. And speaking of small things that you don't see very often that I love, and one of my favourite things in here, this. So I'm not joking, I hunted for years for this thing. So this is the last of my Nintendo Power figures, or statues, whatever you want to call them. You don't get much Mario Sunshine merchandise, but look at this. Genuinely one of my favourite things I own. I think I had a save search on eBay for this guy for probably 3 or 4 years before I finally found one. And the way I found it was a mate, a friend of mine. You know, everyone's got those colleagues at work that are like, oh, I've got a load of gaming stuff in the loft. And they've been telling you that for years and you give up hope. Well, one day he rang me and he's like, I've got that stuff down. And it was a box full of like Mario trinkets and stuff, and this was in there. I love this thing so much. Normally, again, it's one of the things that when you see it on eBay, you see it boxed, ridiculous money. And I was always going to want it loose anyway. So, yeah, I just love it. And that's that. And I think in terms of Nintendo Power figures, there is one more, I believe. There's a Link on Epona. And actually, there's 2 more because there's also Samus, but I've never seen Samus, not in the UK. Let me know if you see it where you live. But yeah, very, very happy to be adding that to the list. And then it's PlayStation 2. I'm not going to spend too much time with PS2. It's kind of boring, isn't it? These spines. The American spines, I think, are much better than ours. I do like the uniformity, but very boring. I've got the games I really wanted. It's one of them sets that I always think I'm done with, and then I always find or learn about new games because there's such a great library on here. But Capcom vs SNK 2, one of my favourite games of all time is Def Jam Fight for New York. Being a huge hip-hop fan, and this game just has aged so well. I played through it again recently. We'll put that back later. Yeah. The Gradius games. Of course, you've got Grand Theft Autos. Anything 2D I try and get my hands on. It's good to have the Mega Man games, Metal Slugs. I like 2D games on systems that tended to go 3D that haven't aged well. I like the 2D stuff. There's obviously a lot of classics throughout here, but we'll fly through PS2. Valken's a good one. That's recently had a re-release on the Switch, I believe. And then we get to the interesting stuff. So this stuff doesn't really display well because it hasn't aged very well, this kind of cardboard. But I love collecting all the cardboard and all the steelbooks for the PS2. This is a great one. Look at that. Look at that artwork. Metal Gear Solid 3. I'm not going to pull all of these out. Just some of my personal favourites. This is a great one. This is one you don't see very often. 50 Cent Bulletproof. That like red metallic. Absolutely love that. There's an even rarer one of this. There's like there's one in a bulletproof vest, like an actual vest that zips up over the game, but it's ridiculously expensive. I don't think it ever came in the UK. Yeah, just more good stuff throughout. But like I say, sadly, a lot of it's slightly yellowed. It's almost impossible to find this cardboard now, like fresh and white, but it is what it is. They look better individually than they do as a collection, I think. This is probably one of my favourite, if not my favourite of all sleeve covers on any system. Price has gone through the roof, but this is one of the things where I actually get it. Like, so many things in game collecting, you think, why is that guy expensive? But this I understand. It's just stunning, isn't it? Look at that. It comes with like a comic book and stuff like that. So we'll pop that back there. But yeah, that's my PlayStation 2 stuff. And whilst we're down here, I might as well show you this. So this is a very derpy looking Lara Croft, but this was actually a promotion for the first Lara Croft game, so this would have been given out to video game stores. This has been repainted. I'm not normally a fan of customizing things. I like them original, but in this case, this paint job looks so much better than the original paint job. So yeah, really happy with that, and she just fits there nicely. And then I think it's now time to get to my pride and joy. So, I am stupid enough, brave enough, whatever you want to call it, to go for a full Super Nintendo set. This is my favourite console of all time. This is the system that made me fall in love with gaming. Now, there's 530-ish games on the Super Nintendo, and I think I'm about 100-ish away. I need to do a full recount. I will be doing a video soon, so keep it locked to the channel if you want to watch my journey with this one. But yeah, I think I'm 100-ish away from the full set, which was just a childhood dream. I couldn't have even imagined. I was saying for years, I'm not going for a full set, I'm not going for a full set. And then eventually I thought to myself, I've come this far, I might as well go for a full set. So many great titles. Now, the first thing I want to do before we look at them all is I've tried to make this whole games room displayed on aesthetics first. So I've colour coordinated it. So we go from like purple, pinks, reds, yellows, greens, blues, all the way down there. This next row has also been colour coordinated down here, but we'll get to that momentarily. So I'm just going to try and highlight some of my favourites on here for you. It's difficult in here because they're all in box protectors. I did work it out as well. It's the best part of like 600, 700 pounds just on box protectors. It's crazy. I do not advise Super Nintendo collecting in 2025. But I'm going to try and highlight some of my favourites anyway. So we've got Porky Pigs, Adventures of Batman and Robin, Pocky and Rocky 2. I love this Wacky Sports just because it's bright pink. Puzzle Bobble. This thing is mint. I don't like using the M word, but this is... I think this must have been new old stock because that's never been touched. What else have we got here? Classics, of course. I'm going to do that thing where I tend to highlight the rare stuff just because you don't see it too often. Metroid for me was a great one because I always had that big box. I don't like big box stuff. I don't have the space. So here in the UK, it's much harder to find the smaller box version. This was the Scandinavian one. I always thought it was the Australian one you had to get, but there is actually a Scandinavian one, and that cost me a lot less money to get. So I was delighted to have that. Top Gear 3000 is one you don't see very often. So there's a video on my channel of a shop, Old School Gaming, that recently got a full set of Super Nintendo games in. So I went wild. There's a huge pickups video of me adding like 30 odd to my collection. It was a very expensive day. Populous, Circus Mystery. But it did mean I was able to add a lot of rare titles. Run Saber, Lucky Luke, there's so many. Sunset Riders, Maximum Carnage, that was a great find. I got that for the unboxed price, so I got that for cart only price at a local CX. My favourite game of all time, A Link to the Past. Fireball Goes West, Sky Blazer, Final Fight 2. And the issue with colour coordinating, as much as I think they look great, it does mean that certain games aren't together. So for example, Final Fight 2 isn't with Final Fight, but you can't have everything, right? Boogerman was a good one for me to find. What else have we got here? Super Hagane, that was like, when I first started collecting, that was like Grail for me, because everyone used to always talk about that online, and it's a great game. So yeah, Hagane was one I pieced together. I got it really cheap because what I did was I bought the box, the manual, and the cartridge separately, and I think I got all in for about £200. It was a patient way of doing it, but yeah, it worked out a lot cheaper for me. And you'll see throughout, I'm not a condition guy, guys. I just want to point that out now. I try and make the best of my games. I clean them up, I de-sticker them, I get the iron on them, I put them all in box protectors. I am not a mint collector. I have my standards, but it's relatively low compared to some collectors. I don't mind the aging on them. It tells the story. This is a hard one to find. All the Dragon Ball Z games are hard to find, especially here in the UK. I think they were like French releases. I think France had more of an anime scene back then than we did here in the UK. Mega Man X, Super Pang, Turbo Toons. This is the other Dragon Ball. So there's 4 Dragon Ball games on the Super Nintendo PAL set. I've got 2. I need the other 2. Sparkster. This is a rare one to get simply because it's an Australian exclusive. You can tell by that logo there. Australia being PAL. Soul Blazer. Captain America. This is one of the most expensive games in my collection. Ninja Warriors. You hardly ever see this game. Very rare, and especially in this condition. This one's actually in nice condition. Got an amazing price on that. This is the Super Mario World puzzle. I actually cheated to do this. I spent months trying to do it. Couldn't do it. I took it apart. I took it apart and put it back together in the right order. Slam Masters, Wolverine, Terra Enigma, ActRaiser 2. There's so many games that are rare. Recent edition. This is my most recent heavy hitter. Death and Returns of Superman. Another very expensive one next to Alpha 2 is X2. I still need X3 and I still need Mega Man 7 for all the Mega Man games on the Super Nintendo. Biometal, that was one of the last shmups I did. I've got all the shmups, I think. True Lies, Wolfenstein, Super Widget. This was the last of the shmups I added to my collection. Darius Twin, another one that I don't think ever got a UK release. Very, very happy to have found that. Up here got some really interesting stuff. So this is what they call Sofubi. Shout out to my boy Theo who hooked this up for me. Found this at like a Toy-Con event. Of course, Hagar from Final Fight. It's a great statue. And shout out once again to Theo, who's an absolute magician who can make fantastic things. He made me this Zul figure. There's also a Toe Jam and Earl in this room we'll get to later on that he made. Just, yeah, go and check out Slam Ass TV. You won't be disappointed. One of my favourite channels out there. And this that I had made at Legoland. So this is actually an official Lego figure. This is me. And I had that top printed. I made it whilst I was at Legoland with the family. But there is one game I've been saving to show you guys. Probably the most expensive game in my collection. And the one that means the most. You often get asked the question, right? If there was a fire, what would you save? Well, heaven forbid that would happen. Obviously, this is off. This is a renovated garage, so this isn't in the main house. So I don't need to be sentimental and talk about family and all that. That obviously comes first. But in terms of stuff in here, it would have to be this. Vampire Kiss, a ridiculously rare and expensive game. And I'm still struggling really to like articulate it. But this was gifted to me. So the fantastic people over on the Ghetto Gang Discord chucked in for a wedding gift. They all chucked in together and they were able to purchase me this. And yeah, I don't know, maybe one day when I can articulate it better and I can sort of tell guys what it really means to me, I might make a video about it. But yeah, let's just say it means a lot. Like I say, that would be the one game I would grab if I could only grab one thing in here. But speaking of my favourite things in here, before we get to the rest of the Super Nintendo stuff, this guy up here. Sentiment aside, probably my favourite piece of my collection. And again, one of those collector goals I wanted. An original store display, 1990 Nintendo sign. Incredibly rare, incredibly brittle. We recently added it to the ceiling. I was never going to put anything on my ceilings because I wanted to keep my ceilings clear. I think it keeps the room looking fresh and bright and it doesn't make it look too busy when you've already got a room full of stuff. But this, I just felt like it went so well above the Super Nintendo wall. Even though it's technically NES, it's still Nintendo, right? Just love it. It's not mint. Some of the gold's coming off a little bit, but I don't care. These things are incredibly rare, incredibly expensive. I don't even like touching it. I don't even like cleaning it. This is 1990 plastic. It's hollow, vacuum formed. If you breathe on it too heavy, it will crack. So I just admire it from afar. But yeah, absolutely love that. It's like the crowning piece in my whole collection. But anyway, back to Super Nintendo. There's a lot more to get through. So my favourite stuff, and the stuff that displays well, it goes on to what I call the Super Nintendo wall, which is what you see in here. These are all Mosslander shelves, by the way, if anyone's interested. These are like promoted by IKEA as being like frames, because pictures sit inside them as like a little groove, as you can see. But the groove just works perfectly because it just gives me the perfect angle. I also get asked a lot why I display them like this instead of like that. Because, I mean, technically they are supposed to be like that. I look at these so often that to me this is how they're supposed to be now. But if you displayed them like this, the lip here would cover more artwork and you'd get less on a shelf because they're longer than they are that way. But yeah, this is the way I display them. I think they look good. And then we get to the overflow. Not overflow, but the stuff that didn't make the wall. So this is currently tends to be just the boring looking spine. So the black box stuff. And we'll get to the reason as to why in a moment. That doesn't mean there's not good stuff in here, because there is still some really good games in here, some rare games in here. Things like this, for example. There's a lot. There's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, it's a Super Nintendo set. They're all just full of good stuff. But yeah, that's just a bit of a spacer between that and this. So this section here, I've recently color coordinated. And this is the rest of the Super Nintendo. And I've color coordinated it in a very similar way than I have the wall. So we've got all the white box stuff here, which is majority sports games. And then we get to one of my favorite sets, which is my Konami silver box set. Just some absolutely amazing games in here. That was one of my first ever subsets that I completed. And then again, we get to red, through into orange and yellow, into green, blue, and then it turns into what is the overflow of black. But I've tried to pick the red text black. So I'm going to further curate this. So the black stuff that you see here, I'm going to color coordinate via the text. So for example, these two games will remain together, the orange to yellow, and I'm going to color coordinate that. I'm trying to get the most aesthetic games room in the world, guys. Let me know if you think I'm getting there. But I'm just trying to fully curate everything down to the minutest detail in here. And I think that is pretty much that wall, right? I think we've covered almost everything on that side of the room. But I'll just give you a look at it from this side so you can see it ascending colours the other way. And I just think it gives some great views, right? So we've seen most of that now. Yeah, just to get your bearings. One of the things I don't think I have mentioned is this. So this is just a Mario bubble bath back in the day. They don't make things like they used to, right? So that was old bubble bath back in the Dizzy. And the only thing I think left to show you on this wall is God of War 2018 standee. I've always been a big God of War fan, highlighted by the fact that I've got the tattoo on my arm. I was a huge fan when I discovered God of War 3 and then went backwards through the catalogue. But this game came out, Kratos becoming a father, going on that next level journey, a week before I became a father for the first time. So it was like sort of mirrored my own life journey, which just cemented its place in my heart even more, to be honest. And I love that game. I preferred this game to the game that came after it, even though they're both great on the PlayStation 4. But yeah, that is that wall in its entirety. And then we get our way over to this side of the room. So there's still quite a bit more to go, guys. But this is my media area. And we're going to start with standees. I've already mentioned to you, I've only got my favourite standees displayed now. These are fantastic. If you go on eBay, you can find reproductions of these. These aren't repro, these are original. I got all three of these separately. So there's 3 in the set. They were not cheap, but I think they're worth every penny. I love that Grand Theft Auto San Andreas artwork. It's not my favourite GTA. That would probably be Vice City for the soundtrack as much as anything else. But that, and then this one here, and we'll get to the third one shortly. I think they're just such good artwork, and I think they frame the entertainment area and the TV so well. I try to not have this wall too busy. So this is, my room's very much split in two. So what you've just seen, I class as like the library, and then this is very much my gaming area. This is my living area. I don't want this to be too busy. I don't want too much going on. I like to just sit here, I fully recline, and I just, make use of my screens. We're going to get into all this now. There is one more standee up there, sorry. Very rare you see this one. Shout out to my boy Eddie, Rollercore. So that's God of War Goes to Sparta. Very slept on game. Really great game in the series. Originally came out on the PSP, but you can get it for the PS3 on the HD remaster. I just think that goes so well above the TV. It's just sort of the right shape for the ceiling. But let's get down here. So this is a random thing. This was like an NES cartridge guy. This was like some artist made these. There's various different ones. And this came with stickers. I didn't want to customize it. I like things white, fresh, clean and clinical. So I just left him as he is. And then from there, we have the speakers, which are hooked up to this thing over here. So this is a Technics separates. I've said many times before, this was something I always wanted as a kid. All the older kids, all the adults had them, all the cool people whose parties they used to go to, I could never afford one. I found this in a charity shop for £10. One of my best ever finds, right? These are still quite sought after. Just to this day, massively high audio quality, and I love symmetry. The only thing that's messing up my symmetry is this bloody PS5, which is too big to fit in my Kallax unit, which we'll get to shortly. That should be a crime, by the way. Any sort of like manufacturers, developers out there, stop making consoles that big. If you can't fit them in a Kallax, don't make them. But this is an original store display PlayStation light. I think this is 1995. This all lights up. I very rarely have it lit up. It's more of just a display piece. I think it sits lovely underneath my television, which is just a 55-inch Sony, I think. I'm not a technical guy. It's not really my forte. But it's OLED. Does the job. I enjoy it. Looks great on there. And then we get down to the Kallax itself. So a couple of years ago now, I made the decision to try and replace all my consoles with white consoles, just to keep the white theme going, keep the room as clean as possible. My mentality was, look, there's so much stuff in this room, to avoid it looking too busy, too complicated, too much of a visual headache, try and keep as much stuff white and clean as possible. So I've even took that to the nth degree of doing it with all my consoles. I'm going to talk you through my Kallax unit. A lot of this has been modified. So first of all, so these originally just come with this big hole, and then these are additional things you get from IKEA to separate them. There's also 2 speakers in here, look, so there's a speaker there, and there's one down there. There's loads of speakers in this room hidden away. I'll try and remember to tell you guys as we go through. But we've got the OLED switch. OLED, Nintendo, if you're listening, yeah? White. So if you could hurry up and bring out a white OLED Switch 2, that would be great. And then below that, Wii U. Now the white Wii U is the worst one to get, I think. I think this has got such a terrible memory. I think it's got like 8 gig of memory or something. I don't know, I don't really care. I don't play it too much, to be honest. I just wanted a white one. This is a really cool clock. That hides the splitter for a lot of the HD systems. So the HD systems are hooked up to the big TV, and the older stuff is hooked up to this fantastic TV we'll get to shortly. But we've got PlayStation 4 Pro. This is where my PS Portal should be. I forgot to grab it for you guys, but if you just imagine a nice fresh white PS Portal and you can't see the wires, that'd be great. So cheers. And down here, again, I've already told you guys how much I love the PlayStation 3 console. The white one and the red one, I love them both, to be honest. So yeah, had to have that in there. Another speaker, and behind that is just my Wi-Fi router. Xbox One X in white. Now this is my most recent addition. This was one of the harder white consoles to get. This is the PlayStation 2, so this is a Japanese one. They never released it in PAL territories, this fresh white. And what I'm doing is getting a shell swap. So you might have noticed in the Purgatory cupboard, there's a black PS2. I'm sending them over to my friend Nikki, who I'm hoping can do a shell swap for me so that I can play my PAL games on a white PS2 system. And then we've got a white pearlescent GameCube down here. Yeah, that's the whitest GameCube you can get. Super Nintendo, again, there's another speaker in that corner. Obviously it's white, but I don't really mind it. It's still pretty light. I've got the PS Vita here. This white Japanese Vita is hiding my shame, which is the Mega Drive. I can't find a white Mega Drive. I've heard there's a Brazilian one out there somewhere. But yeah, Mega Drive is my only stumbling block when it comes to white consoles. But I'm really happy to have finally got all this stuff together. These are just hiding like peripherals, wires, controllers, and that kind of thing in there. And I think that's pretty much everything. I did have to modify the back. So originally Kallax units don't come with a back, so you'd see all the wires and stuff. So I did get like a white sheet of MDF and then drilled holes so I could put all the wires through and hide it and stuff. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. Just gives me enough space to put all the consoles that I want. And we make our way back over to this side. We've already spoken about the CD player. Sitting on top of that is a record player. And on top of that is a Rob the Robot. Now, this is the only NES thing you'll see in here. I don't collect NES. I had it as a kid. I got some good memories for it. But it's not where my nostalgia is. Super Nintendo is where it really took off for me. But I had to have one of these. I think they just look so cool. And he's sort of like the first thing you see as you walk in the room here. One of my favourite things in the room, hands down, is this Marvel vs. Capcom 2 standee. So all my standees are originals. So you can imagine this is not cheap. But the artwork, look at it. I mean, Marvel and Capcom, the colours pop. It just fits perfectly there as well. So this is like your view as you walk into my room. So good. We'll get to Mega Drive momentarily. But down here, we've got my record collection. So down, it's mostly hip-hop. I'm a 90s hip-hop fan. There's also Motown in here, movie soundtracks. There's some video game stuff in here, some really nice video game soundtracks in here. I'm not going to pull them out. It's just a pain getting them back in. There's an SDCC exclusive Mezco Biggie. And behind that, you can just about see it. is a 50th hip hop anniversary bottle of Hennessy. It's the Nas edition. For me, Nas is my favourite hip hop artist of all time. So that's tucked away down there. And this is the biggest waste in my room. You can barely see it. This is an original store display Super Nintendo sign. Because I put the Nintendo sign there, I've run out of space to display it because of so many games. I don't know where to put it, so it's just kind of awkwardly sat here. You don't even see it. I just can't bring myself to get rid of it. I love it. It's Super Nintendo original store display. So yeah, one day we'll figure something out with that one. But then we get one of my babies, right? My Bang & Olufsen. Let me try and remember exactly what this is to tell you. This is a Bang & Olufsen DVD Avant 32-inch. So this is my CRT TV of choice. And this basically has Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, GameCube, PS2 hooked up to this. So basically pre-HD is all on here. This is an amazing thing. This DVD thing opens up and closes. It does so much. It's so cool. The whole thing can spin around if you want it to. One of the best CRT TVs you'll have. I've had Sony Trinitrons. I've had all sorts. This, in my opinion, is the best. The sound on it is phenomenal. It's a real big unit as well. It goes right down here. This whole section here is the speakers. The sound, honestly, I don't think I've ever cranked it up all the way. You can turn this up to 11, believe me. But I just love the design. There's something about sort of that 90s, early 2000 like aesthetic of electronics that we're missing today. Everything now is just slim and thin and ergonomic, I guess. Whereas this stuff, I just think it's art and don't get much better than Bang & Olufsen. And then, of course, we've got my custom Super Nintendo controller table. This was a one on eBay, actually. I was really happy with this. I've had this years. At one point, I even had this on the wall before I had this floor space back in the day in the original games room, the 1.0. I took the legs off it and mounted this to the wall. But this is just as good as coffee tables get. Switch dock. I've got like 4 switch docks for out here in the house. And then we've just got a coaster. And somebody sent me this because I'm always struggling to open my parcels. I'm always pulling them open with my teeth and whatnot. So someone sent me that. So shout out for that. And speaking of screens and what that switch dock is hooked up to, is this monitor. So the reason I've got this monitor here is it's mounted on a stand which can be pulled out. So this can be pulled right out, and it can also be spun around. So I can play this in tape mode. So when I'm playing shmups, you can basically play them vertically. I can spin that. I can sit here and pull it out here and spin it, or I can lie with my head here and have the screen there. It just gives me different options for playing the Switch. And this is a electronic radiator. I couldn't get water in here. It would have been a right pain to get it into the garage, so I've got an electronic radiator. That's great. I can control it via my phone and stuff, and there's loads of different settings. And then there's the third and final Grand Theft Auto San Andreas standee. She keeps me company on a lonely night in the room. Isn't much to say about the sofa. It's just a real nice black leather 2-seater. I picked it up really cheap. I might replace this just simply because it's dark. It's one of the only dark things in this room. I think I'd like a light grey one, maybe. White might be pushing it. And these are lifesavers, right? If you ever see one of these guys, these are great. If you haven't got loads of space like me, you can't afford to have like a coffee table at the side of you, having this with my cup of Yorkshire on it, this to rest my phone or tablet on, love this thing. I picked it up on Amazon. Highly recommend them. So that's pretty much it for the entertainment area. So I think it's now time to look at the Mega Drive wall. So I want to say firstly, this is one of the last things in the wall, the room, which is going to be reworked because I've got so many Mega Drive games. You might have seen in Purgatory, there's like a lot of Mega Drive games. I've just run out of space over here. I'm a huge fan of Mega Drive, any 16-bit system. I've got a lot of love for. I'll try and show you guys all the games that are on the wall itself. Some very nice ones, some expensive ones. Streets of Rage 3, Soleil, that's one on my list to play this year. What else we got? Skeleton Crew, Probotector, Comic Zone, Ranger X. Got all the Shinobis, Castlevania. Got to talk about this sign, right? So this again was my friend Kev. He custom made this for me. Now I'm not really a custom made sign kind of guy, as you've seen. I like originals, but this, I mean, I'm making an exception in this case. Look how cool it looks, all backlit. Shout out to Kev, absolute legend. Yeah, got all the Outrun trilogy, recently completed that. Sonics, this is just a little McDonald's toy. Shinobis. And then I've got all the shmups here. Again, big fan of shmups, so I'm trying to get all of these 16-bit shmups across both Super Nintendo and Mega Drive. Thunder Force 3 is a really interesting one because this is an argument as to whether this is or isn't part of the PAL set. You can see it says Genesis on it, but it plays on PAL systems. It was sold in UK shops. It was actually sold in Toys R Us, the receipts in here. Much debated that one. It's almost like a strange PAL release, but it only got the Genesis artwork. I'm not getting into the debate. For me, I just bought it and then I'm covered either way, right? And then this is those same Mosslander shelves, but flipped. So rather than having the groove here, I flipped it round so it's completely flat surface so that I could just display them spine only. And again, separated them by the artwork. So, excuse me, this is EA, Electronics Arts, yellow spines. Then we get to blue spines. I wish all Mega Drive games were blue spines, right? I think they look better in blue spines. Random colourfulness, and then into standard black games. Such fun collecting for Mega Drive, it really is. If I wasn't as deep into the Super Nintendo game as I am, I'd be going all out for Mega Drive, so who knows, maybe one day. But that's why I need to extend and find a new way of doing it. I think this area could look better, and I definitely need to make myself more space. And down here as well, sorry Theo, man, I wish I could display these a bit better right now. So this is Toe Jam and Earl, it's not even focusing. Next time you see me, those toys will have better real estate in the room because they deserve to be displayed. They're amazing. Everything he makes is amazing. But yeah, just struggling for space right now. So as I say, I've shown you guys the sofa. The only thing we've missed out, I think, under here is what everything's hooked up to. So this is like the entertainment center. I'm old school, right? So this is the surround sound. There's subwoofer down there and speakers behind either corner of the sofa, as well as all the ones we've already looked at. VHS player. I've gotten rid of most of my VHS. There's just a couple there. A little bottle of brandy, my sweet box, there's my treats are in here, and that's it. That's pretty much everything under there. So let's take a look on this side. So before we get into this guy, quickly show you behind the sofa. Still haven't put that away. Let's pretend that never happened. Right, okay, so this is a Game sign. So if you're from the UK, you'll know Game is a big chain of stores here. It's got a bit of a love-hate relationship at the moment. It's not the shop it used to be. But I do think people over time will look at it with a bit more nostalgia. But yeah, found this display sign. This would have been outside a shop. I think the Newcastle branch. Found this in a shop recently. Had to bring it home. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I might have put it out in the gym, light it up. But for now, it's just living life behind my sofa. And this reclines, by the way. Whilst this one obviously can't recline, my seat reclines. And the whole room's set up around my seat, let's be honest. This is the subwoofer that I'm talking about. One of the other speakers. And then there's a speaker here inside the Game sign. This is interesting. So this isn't official. I just thought it was really cool. I found him at a toy fair. Massive Mario. He hasn't really got a proper home yet. He's just sort of tucked in down there. I'm going to find him a better home. And old school retro Ghetto logo for the old school fans out there. And then we get to this. So this was a real grail of mine. Found this, I think, last year. This is the NECA life-size Kratos. Obviously, God of War being my favourite franchise. Always wanted this. This was on my list of grails. Small list of grails that I still need. It came up on eBay. It was an hour away in Nottingham. I had to have it. The guy gave me a good deal on it. I jumped straight in my car. Brought him home. Everyone told me I wouldn't fit him in the room. Everyone said I was going to have to replace Master Chief. But I found a way. I think I've done a good job. What I did was move everything forward. So this... Originally, this here was in line with that. So I pushed it back that far, which meant I could push that back that far, the sofa back that far, and it allowed me to get Kratos in. I think he looks great. And it's nice to have PlayStation and Xbox representation in the room, of course. And I think with that, that is pretty much everything. And that's it, a deep dive into my entire collection. It's taken me about 8 years of blood, sweat and tears to get to this point. Hope you guys have enjoyed having a good look around my collection in its entirety. If you've stuck around and watched the whole video, it's much appreciated. Let me know by commenting below. Ghetto deep dive, Ghetto deep dive in the comment section below. And if you are new here and you want to continue with my journey, you want to see me constantly going out, hunting at various different places, adding new pieces to my collection, keeping abreast of all the subsets and full sets that I'm on the journey for, keep it locked to the channel, it's much appreciated. But as always, play your games, keep it retro, take care.
Lock into the retro ghetto. Come and have a look around the ghetto. We got Sonic and Staples settle. Lock into the retro ghetto.